is Monica, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, and this is the Peer-to-Peer Jam and Role Model Talk. This is an opportunity for our young women to start their leadership journey and to learn the value of building trusted relationships, setting goals, making healthy decisions, overcoming those barriers, and dreaming big. The Peer-to-Peer Jam and Role Model Talk is an opportunity to connect with peers and learn from inspiring leaders from diverse backgrounds to share their leadership wisdom and their inspiring career journeys. Today, it's a very special kickoff to 2023. We have Sarah Hawco, who's our role model, and Olivia Day is our 2021 Woman of Inspiration Youth Excellence Award winner. She will be moderating the panel today. So, Olivia, I welcome you to the stage, and I'm going to turn the baton over to you.
Hello. My name's Olivia, and today I'll be interviewing Sarah Hawco. Sarah Hawco has an extraordinary wealth of legal and financial expertise that brings a 360-degree perspective to the dispute resolution process. She is a chartered accountant with a specialization in tax, as well as a chartered insolvency and restructuring professional, and holds a Master's of Laws from Usgan Hall in School, Toronto. She is also a member of CPA Alberta, CIRP, ACFE, and the Alternative Dispute Resolution Institute of Alberta. Prior to founding Hawco Peters, Sarah spent 13 years practicing insolvency and turnaround management at national and international firms. She also provided a wide range of consulting and specializing in due diligence, business reviews and visibility assessments, corporate taxation and estate planning, restructuring, and alternative dispute resolution. Outside of her professional commitments, Sarah volunteers her time to teaching financial literacy at various schools and shelters. After learning more about Sarah, you can now see why she is the perfect person to interview. With that said, good evening, Sarah, and thank you for letting me interview you today.
Hi, Olivia. Nice to see you.
So my first question is, what is the largest hurdle within the accounting and law industry, and what did you do to overcome it?
I think that the largest hurdle is probably just the educational portion because it's quite long and onerous. So typically for this route, people will do a Bachelor of Commerce. I actually have a Bachelor of Humanities that I did in advance. So it's the schooling is the biggest hurdle. But once you're finished the educational portion, accounting and law is both, in my opinion, very female friendly. And in fact, my understanding is that female graduates outnumber the male graduates. So accessing and getting employment should not be a hurdle. The hurdle comes after, once you have been working for a number of years, and whether or not you want to stay in public accounting or go into working with corporations. And it's a hurdle that is involved in any industry, and that would be tied to probably the childbearing years, whether or not you choose to have children, and whether or not that would be considered an interruption of your career. But insofar as accessing that career, accounting, in my opinion, is probably one of the best degrees and best careers one can start out in, even if you don't want to stay in that, whether you're male or female. It's just a good, practical, transferable base of knowledge, regardless of whether you want to run a yoga studio or run an oil and gas company or work in an accounting firm. It's good and responsible, in my opinion, in any type of business to be financially savvy.
Yeah, I mean, on the educational side of things, I learned that you have to memorize over 500 ways of solving a problem. One thing that you and my dad have in common is he has a master's in accounting. Mm-hmm. So, you know, math problems after school, there's no excuse not to solve them.
Yeah, well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
That's okay. So you mentioned the childbearing years, and knowing your kids, what's one piece of advice that you constantly give them?
Advice that I give my daughters is to find a career, whether it involves university or not. I have a lot of university degrees. Comparatively, I have about 4. That's a lot. But regardless of whether or not you have any sort of post-secondary education, choose a career that you can support you and your children. So it doesn't matter what you choose to do. If you do it and do it well, make sure that you can support yourself and support children and be self-reliant. So that's the advice I give my kids. It doesn't matter to me whether you want to be the best makeup artist in the world, the best plumber in the world, the best accountant or lawyer in the world. Can you run a business and run your life and support yourself? That's what I think you should choose.
Yeah. So when it came to you and your studies, was it like natural aptitude, or was it self-driven? Were you just like, that career is for me and I'm going to work my butt off to get it?
You know what? It was a longer journey. So my first degree is in humanities, meaning that my first degree, I did a lot of ancient history and philosophy and women's studies and religion and things that just interest me. And I was still slinging drinks at a bar, even though I could do it in 3 languages. Beer just translates. It doesn't matter what language. So I chose accounting. It doesn't sound very sexy, but I chose accounting because I took it as an option just to fill one of my options for my humanities degree. And I found I liked it. It was practical. It made sense. I always did really well at math and liked it. And I thought it was a good practical degree. And this is probably very accountant-ish of me. I thought, if I end up in a wheelchair, can I still do my job? Yep. If I only have one arm, can I still do my job? Yep. And so so I was actually thinking of work that I could do, even if I had a physical disability, even if I needed to, as ended up being the case, be the sole breadwinner and a single parent. Can I support my kids in the way that I want to? Yeah. So it was chosen, 1, because I'm just naturally good at it, and 2, because it was a good, safe, practical career that could be done anywhere in the world. Numbers are numbers are numbers. It doesn't matter where I am. I could still be employable.
I mean, having learned this year myself that, you can be on top of the world 1 minute, and the moment you have, let's say, a bad crash, you're down and people are kind of done with you, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
It made me realize skiing is not a viable career, and that most of the kids in my school aren't going to get to that Olympic level, because I had experienced it myself a few years before them.
Yeah. Like, what can I do with my brain? And
exactly.
Yeah.
If you can't strengthen your body, strengthen your brain.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But no. What have you found, like a little tip or a little trick that helps you maintain your confidence?
You know what? I maintain my confidence. I spent a lot of years, and this is probably more of a female thing than a male thing, but many of us will end up in male-dominated industries where, just about every day, I'm the only woman in the room. Just about every single day, I'm the only woman in the room. And in my 20s, that probably intimidated me, and I deferred to the men's opinion, and I deferred to what the others were saying. And I've earned my spot at the table, right? I have a lot of education. I have a lot of experience. What I continue to do, regardless of how many years I've worked and how much education I have, I continue to re-educate myself. I ensure that I continue to write papers. I speak at national conferences. So it's helped in my confidence in, regardless of the career you're doing, the best marketing you can do is a job well done, right? Whether that's even in what you're doing now, Olivia, right? The best resume you have is the work you've done, right? So you don't need to be splashy and throwing things out there. Make sure that you stay educated in what you're doing, and that'll be the confidence. And when you're wrong, admit you're wrong. when you don't know the answer, the best thing to do is to just say that you don't know, and you'll find out. Right? So
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in that whole fake it till you make it. No, know your know your staff. Know your staff. So I don't fake it. If I don't know it, I'll be like, I will find out. I don't know the answer to that. I think it might be this, or I think it might be that, but I don't know. I'll get back to you. And just be honest and authentic.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm at an age now where the kids are competing for attention, whether that be the teachers, the coaches, or even their parents.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, I've just climbed Mount Everest. It's like, okay, have you really? There's always something new and exciting that seems a lot bigger than what you're doing, but people say yours is pretty big and bigger than theirs. So I think it's just about believing in yourself, like you said.
Yeah. Like you're perfect exactly as you are, but don't be complacent, be better. Right? Like this is like, I know you, Olivia. Like, yes, you're good. Yes, you're confident. Yes, you're enough, but you want to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about improving,
Mm-hmm.
if you had, let's say, an extreme amount of time to waste, or not necessarily waste, be productive with, what would you do with it?
Oh, I fill all of my minutes in all of my days. So in my time, I always think about areas that I do want to improve, right? So probably maybe on par with my work life is actually my fitness life. So taking care of my my health and my fitness and my diet is that actually fills my schedule first. My top priority is my health and fitness and wellness, because if I'm not fit and healthy, then I actually don't think I'm going to be a productive mother or a productive worker. So I schedule my time, and I always have goals from a fitness perspective, from a dialing in my diet perspective, and from a work perspective. So from a work perspective, we do our forecasts and our budgets and our goals. We being me and my business partner, and just from a self-improvement perspective, it's what are my immediate goals insofar as my fitness and health. So I fill all of my time reading more, listening being like podcasts, books, because there's only so much time. Most of my reading is actually listening on Audible in my car, and volunteering and trying to be and add value. So being careful about my calendar and only volunteering and dedicating my efforts towards causes that I believe in. So that's what I do with my non-existent free time.
No, I get you on that one. If you're already spreading yourself thin between different organizations, you've got to stick with the ones that you actually, let's say, enjoy doing or you benefit from. Because what's the point in doing something half-heartedly? Yeah, I just don't see the point in that, especially when someone is as busy as you. And the thing about the nutrition and wellness, I think nutrition plays a massive part with mental health as well. Like nutrition also helps you build your body muscles. So it ties into everything. It ties into your quality of life more than people would think.
Well, you have an idea of my family's diet regime, so we're kind of all intense. But
it's fine.
And what I tell my daughters, I think the number one thing I would tell my daughters or a young woman or anyone is the importance of the word no. Women in particular, the younger, the worse, is we often say yes, even when we want to say no, even when our gut's saying no, whether we don't want to, whether we don't have time, whether it's not aligned with our values. I think the most important word a woman can learn is no. And you don't need to be no and come up with some excuse. No is a full sentence. No.
Is that the Elizabeth Olsen quote?
I don't even know if it's a quote, but it's a full sentence. You don't need to say no and then provide all of these excuses. just a firm and final no.
Yeah. And it saves you a lot because if you say no, there will be that tense, awkward silence. And in that moment, you can see the little brain cogs ticking away, and then you just walk away. End of
And
situation.
you just walk away. No. Or I might add in, I say, no, I have a conflict. It doesn't matter what my conflict is. Maybe my conflict is eating ice cream. It doesn't matter. It's none of their business. No.
Exactly. But no. So talking about what goes on, like with your family life and whatnot, what do you do on the side that we don't know about or might not know about?
Some people know about, but I actually teach fitness. So even though I have 3 financial type companies, accounting and finance type companies and lending companies, so I'm, a businesswoman. I also teach group fitness. So that might be something that people may or may not know, that I'm a fitness instructor.
It's a pretty interesting side life because
No.
mainly when you think of accountants, you think of them being boring.
I know.
And
Yeah.
my dad met that requirement for a little while until he came to the dojo with you and Megan. And now he's a little more lively. You can no longer say, oh, I'm a boring accountant.
Yeah. Well, if Megan's my bestie, then I can't be that boring.
No, no,
No.
you can't.
No, we balance each other. I bring her back to earth, and
Yeah.
she tries to make me have fun.
Yeah. And I mean, seeing your guys' relationship and how long, like you guys have been friends as long as I've been at the dojo, which is a good few years. What is the significance of any relationship in your life? Like, what are the key things that you look for them?
The key thing, so I have a very, I would say I have lots of acquaintances, as we all do, and I have a very small group of primarily girlfriends, but we have, I've our 2 good guy friends that I'll call girlfriends, but the just values that are aligned. It doesn't mean that we're the same. I mean, my friends are very different from me, but the number one thing in my very small friend group is that we all support and celebrate each other. There's no competition. Someone else's win is not my loss, right? I want my friends to have all of the success in the world, and them having all of the success doesn't reflect poorly on me. Even if I'm having like a bad time, for example, I want them to win, and they want me to win. There's no cattiness. There's just straight authenticity. So I say no energy vampires. So there's we've all had friends in our life that kind of just suck our energy, and they just want to take and take and take, or they want to kind of cut you down a little bit to make themselves feel better. I don't have time for that. And that's not who I'm spending my time with. So my small friend group is super supportive. Sometimes I'm the one helping them, and sometimes they're the one helping me. So it just needs to be balanced, and no one's keeping score. So don't keep score with your friends. If you're keeping score with your friends, you don't want to be friends with them. That takes energy.
No, and you're true on that one. I mean, I've been in very competitive environments, and so have your daughters, and it's constantly like, if you don't win, the other person's bad kind of thing. So it's not enjoyable. It ruins everything, everything from like a meal and maybe them commenting on it, or even being at a competition being like, yeah, I thought that kick was bad as well, and that not being positive critique.
Well, and you're in both of your sports are individual sports, right? So there's really kind of only space for one winner. So it makes team a bit awkward. But you know what? If you and my daughters fight, sometimes you'll win, sometimes they'll win, right? And you guys need to respect and love each other, because that's the way it goes. You're still a team.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, is that the moment that they get, some recognition or 5 minutes of fame, they're like, tunnel vision, I only need myself kind of thing. And I see that a lot. I mean, I go to a very competitive school with all the top kids in the country.
Yeah.
I see it. It's like, bestie, you're not the only one here who does well. So are 20 of the other kids in the class.
Yeah, we're all superstars, right? Like where you are, you're all
Yeah,
superstars. So
it's like, you're trying to compete, but we're in like, you're, let's say, a winter sport and they're a summer sport. Nowhere between. Just let people be happy.
yeah, I agree.
Like,
Yeah,
just treat people with kindness, okay?
that's just it. Because you know what? It's so much easier in this world if you have even one or two people that you can trust and rely on, right?
Yeah, it is. And you
Much
don't always
more.
have to text them all the time.
Mm-mm. No.
Like, there is a very good friend of mine. We only text it like once every few weeks just because our lives are so crazy. But when we're together, it's good. Everyone's fully present
Yeah.
and you can tell that they're making an effort.
Mhm.
Some come naturally, and after you haven't seen someone for a while, you've got to put a bit of effort. But no, it's like you said, just build those bridges.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't waste time on people who are trying to bring you down.
Yeah. On that note, is there anyone who inspires you?
Oh gosh, there's tons of people who inspire me. There's like you, like who, honest to goodness, Olivia, holy Dinah, do you work hard and you're like focused and academic and so badass. I love it. Monica trying to raise people up, like a single mom who's just trying to get it together and raise her kids. The people who inspire me are just people who are trying to be better. And I don't care what initials are behind their name or how much money they make or don't make or where they live. People just trying to do good things in the world. There's so many. By the dojo, there's this tiny little vegan cafe called Pachamama. It's a mom and her two daughters. They inspire me. That's hard. It takes so much courage to start your own business. Or it takes so much courage for someone to be an immigrant, holy, like to leave your country where at least your parents spoke the language, but to leave your country where all of your comforts and all of your network and all of your support system, that takes courage. So I'm inspired all the time. I'm inspired by people who are scared and do it anyway. And um, yeah, so I'm inspired all the time.
No, that's completely good. I mean, whenever I look around people, it's not always the big things that can make you go, oh, that was good. You
Yeah,
know?
it's it's I don't know. I'm even, my 12-year-old Noah, Noah, like martial arts, holy, that takes courage. Stepping into the ring, just stepping into the ring where you're all alone, you might get beat up or hurt. That's scary. That's inspiring. I haven't done that. I haven't stepped into a ring. Right? Like there's so many men and women doing such cool things in the world and who are risking it. And whether maybe they're risking reputation, maybe they're risking money, maybe they're risking relationships, depending on what their position is on something. It takes courage to stand with your beliefs, even if it is inconsistent with the general narrative.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a quote that constantly gets thrown around, especially if you're into like theatre and stuff. And it's talk less, smile more. It's from Hamilton. And I think in some situations it applies, but in most it doesn't. Nobody wants a ghost standing in the corner not saying anything. And it's not good for you either. So state what you're after and go forward with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard because my teachers don't like it when I do it. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets me into trouble occasionally, I'll tell you that.
I know,
But
but it
I'd
will
much
also
rather,
serve you well. It's like that classic blessing and a curse, right?
I'd much rather test that out now than in a few years though. You know?
Keep doing
So
it. Doing it.
so whenever you are highly stressed, which everyone gets, including myself, what do you do? Because like you said, you don't have a terrible amount of time in the day.
Mhm.
So how do you take care of you?
I manage my stress, I think primarily through a few functions, but I wake up pretty early every morning and I run every morning. And just being outside and moving will take some sort of edge off. So I think that's probably my primary stress management tool is exercise. So exercise, and I'm not very good at it, but I've been working on it again, is just doing a short meditation at night and breathing. Breathing is probably the key to just about everything. So just being mindful of breath and um yeah, and it sounds like a weird thing with stress management, but just having kind of as clean a diet as possible, right? So just whole natural foods, no processed foods, limit the alcohol, limit the caffeine, that sort of thing. That will all help with just having clarity of mind.
I mean, to me, it makes sense having been in a nutrition obsessed sporting world. It
Mm.
makes sense to eat clean because then you can trust that you're eating the right things and trust what's on the package. And that's a huge thing. That gives you peace of mind.
Yeah.
And you know that you're not eating something random from a factory or a chemical plant. Like, you never know nowadays.
Yeah.
And I mean, the running is phenomenal.
So
And especially
and
when
running's
you,
like my deal, but it's not for everyone. So maybe it's running, maybe it's walking, maybe it's biking. But I think that spending some time outdoors, whether it's walking, running, whatever, a little bit of time outdoors every day, even when it's cold, is it gives you a moment of, or at least gives me a moment of gratitude, right? Because if you're able to think of, all of us on camera here, we're really lucky. Like, regardless of how terrible things might seem, we're all really, really lucky to live where we live, and to be in a place where we feel safe. I don't think any of us are really hungry. I don't think any of us are fearful for the most part. So if you can kind of start every day with it can be as brief as you want, but a moment of gratitude, and just recognize a few things that you're grateful for first, and then you can get into the weeds of the day. But by and large, we're all quite fortunate here.
yeah, I mean, usually what works for me is just allowing a certain amount of time to just decompress, think things over. But
Mhm.
once that time's up, get back on it and face the rest of the day. It doesn't matter if you're doing this at like 12, like at lunch. And it doesn't matter if you're doing this at 7 and getting ready for bed.
Yeah,
Just the whole breathing piece. Exhale longer than you inhale. That's it.
yeah, that'll do it, right?
But yeah. So Monica and Alicia and Kaya, do you guys have any questions?
I just want to say it was really great sitting in the background. I made lots of notes, and I want to say great job, Olivia. I know you've got your second interview under your belt, and you come off very confident. You can't tell. This is your second time doing an interview. You are really engaging, and great conversation. Sarah, I made a couple points here. You said something that was really interesting. You feel you're already full schedule. Like,
Mhm.
you're probably one of the most busiest women that I know,
Mhm.
and you do it with grace. And so when Olivia was asking you how you manage your stress, it really comes down to a lot of these things that you set as part of your goals for your business and your health, because I think that's really important to learn when we're young, as young leaders, because you guys have stress too. We're talking in the green room about exams or trying things for the very first time, and stress is different for everybody. But it's that fresh air, eating healthy, exercising, sunshine on your face, being grateful. I mean, those are things that don't cost a lot of money, but if you can develop those habits young, Oh my goodness. And I think you've mastered it, Sarah. Like I still look at everything else that you do and I'm always in awe of what you do.
It costs no money and they're non-starters, right? So these are things that happen every single day, no matter what. So my day starts the same every single day and it ends the same every single day. And my midday workout is scheduled and blocked off in my calendar. And I schedule around that. And so those are my deal breakers. So I schedule and block off if need be. You know, I don't need to block off a 5 a.m. run, but my midday workout is non-negotiable. I'm not booking a meeting or a lunch or whatever there. So I schedule in my de-stress times
Mm.
in my calendar and they're not to be moved.
So fantastic tip. That was tip number one. That is just like invaluable for future leaders and women of all ages. Number two, no, it's a complete sentence.
I had to wait until I was 40 before I like figured that one out. So if you figure it out earlier, I like hammer that into my daughter's heads. No, period. That's the whole sentence.
And number three, what I took away that I think was super, super valuable, and then I'm going to welcome questions from Kaya and Alicia, is about choosing your career.
Mm.
You know, what a great strategy. And I think, Olivia, you had, you know, kind of made an observation about your own current situation with skiing. You know, you built your career around something, but if there's you know, a pivot or an injury, it kind of puts a roadblock into sort of moving forward with that. And so I think that was really important, Sarah, for you to bring to the attention that, you know, accounting and being a lawyer, there's great opportunities for women. The barriers come late in life, as you said, but there's something that you can do in any area of the world. There's really no barriers to career moves like that. So I just wanted to say those are really great things, that I think that, I mean, I wrote lots of interesting points, but I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because I think this is what the role model talks and the peer-to-peer jams are all about, is shining the light on some really extraordinary women and their career paths and journeys and the wisdom. So thank you for all your wisdom today.
Thanks.
And I guess we'll open up the floor to Kaya and Alicia. Any questions, or go ahead.
So I would like to say, Sarah, you did an amazing job today. My question is, what were your study habits and how did you like get through school getting good grades?
You know what? My study habits came later. It was lucky and unlucky in that I did really, really well in school, in junior high and high school, and I didn't have to work that hard for good marks. Where that ended up being a curse is that I got to university thinking I was really smart, and I wasn't. I didn't have good study habits. So, what I had to learn, and I worked full time, I had to pay for my own university. So I was working like 35 or 40 hours a week to get through university. So my advice, whether you're in junior high like you are, or high school, or then later university, and even I do it now because I've done a couple of degrees later, I always sit, for me, I sit front row center. I sit as close to the front as possible, because that way there's no risk of me not paying attention, or this wasn't the case because I'm so old that it didn't exist. There's no looking at your phone or taking notes or not pay attention, or if you're up late or went out late or worked late, you can't like be sleepy. So stay front row center. And for me, my best way to do studying, whether you're doing a humanities type thing like English or social or history, or whether you're doing math or engineering or that sort of thing, I write things down. I know that everyone has iPads and computers. I actually believe, and I think it's been scientifically and statistically shown, I write things down. So something like math, for example, which you're probably very good at, I tell my daughters that math is just like any other sport. You practice it. It's one of those beautiful things, math and science and physics. It's one of those beautiful things where all you need to do is practice. Some people are going to be naturally better because they're just born that way, but anyone can be excellent at it. So just practice. So just keep doing the questions, keep doing the practice, and you're going to be amazing. So even if it's hard at first, there's patterns. And there's patterns in every type of math and every type of science. And even when you get to social and history and English, there's patterns. So watch for patterns. And if you practice, the patterns will show themselves. And then you'll get faster and faster at it.
Thank
That's what I
you.
do. I love math.
I think you'd have to with your career.
Oh, Sarah, that was absolutely amazing. What an inspiring woman and an inspiring story. Thank you for coming on and for sharing your advice and your wisdom and your knowledge with all of us. My question for you is, you talked about how you kind of manage your day and how you slot things in, but you're a busy woman, you have a lot going on, and I'm sure you have days where it's just all so overwhelming. And I definitely experience some of those days when, you know, school and my music and everything gets a little too much. I just wanted to ask, what are some ways that you deal with that feeling of overwhelmation, or maybe self-doubt or imposter syndrome, those kind of things?
So on the days that I'm overwhelmed and you're trying to think, how the heck am I going to get it all done? Because there's just not enough time. So we mentioned it and it sounds silly, but it's true. Take 3 deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. It sounds silly, but just let your body recalibrate and calm down. Then you need to prioritize. Is the sky going to fall if this doesn't happen or if that doesn't happen, right? If there's only time to do one thing, what's the most important, right? So for you with your music, maybe you've got to get this song done. Maybe you have to get this recording done. And then, you know what? Maybe you just need to sacrifice sleep. So if there's only so many hours in the day and you have to get, for example, I'm guessing Kaya, so correct me. Maybe you have to get this recording done, and that is going to help you sleep. And then maybe you need to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, which is gross. Like, it's awful. Have a coffee or a cappuccino. I make my kids cappuccino every morning. I know, I don't know if that's okay, but I do. I make it, and I just make it extra sweet with like vanilla soy milk, but whatever. So sometimes you just need to sacrifice and think, well, shoot, I'm just going to be tired tomorrow. But I honest to goodness think that sleep is more important than staying up late. I don't think anyone makes really good decisions staying up late. Don't do schoolwork or study staying up late. It's not staying in your brain. Get some sleep. You're going to be better off. Don't pull an all-nighter. It's useless. Your brain's going to be mush. Get your sleep and wake up a little early. If your mom lets you, have a cappuccino and it's going to be okay. So deep breath. Think about what's the absolute thing that must happen, even if that one thing is just going to help you sleep and feel better, right? Maybe it's just been hanging over you. So there's only so many hours. Choose your battles, and maybe you just need to reset expectations for others. So maybe person A is depending on you to do this and person B is depending on you to do that. And then you just be honest and you send a text message or you call or you email and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I know that you were expecting this by today. It just can't happen. I will get it to you as soon as possible. So just keep, if there's other people depending on you, just be honest and keep them apprised. Look, I can't get this assignment done, teacher. I'm sorry. I know that I may be penalized, but just be honest. And it's worse to disappoint yourself than others, right? And don't do something half-assed because you're trying to just get it out the door. Wait, take the hit and be late and just apologize. It's all you can do.
Thank you. That's excellent advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So talking about whenever you're doing a late assignment or anything,
Mhm.
what do you do when there's the cutoff date, which a lot of us right now are very close to? I'm a day away from mine.
Yeah.
I made a plan with my teachers, but I know a lot of kids haven't, and they're 6, 7 assignments behind. What would you say to them to manage that?
Well, if they're 6 or 7 assignments behind, they're a bit late in fixing this. But all you can do is be honest. Like, look, I know that I'm 6 assignments behind. I know that everything's due tomorrow. It can't happen. I commit to having it to you by Monday, right? Like, all you can do is set the expectation so everyone's in the loop. That's all you can do, is just let them know. I'm okay. Thanks. Sorry, guys. All you can do is just let them know what's going on, because by saying nothing, then people get suspicious that you're hiding, lying, something like that. So instead, all you can do is be honest, even if it's, I messed up and I was irresponsible and I dropped the ball. Be honest, own it.
Yeah, and I mean, I say exactly to, my friends who are that far behind, I was like, talk to the teacher, try and work something out, but it's that anxiety around failing that stops them, and they actually do fail because of their fear of failure.
And they might fail, and it's probably their fault. And that's like, great lesson learned. And maybe now you need to do summer school, and maybe you need to do something. And what do you do? What a great time to learn a lesson when you're 15 instead of 35.
True.
Yeah.
I also want to just jump in there. Great advice, Sarah. I know that we're probably only have a couple more questions, and I'm so grateful that you're able to join us today. Imposter syndrome. I know, Kaya, you brought this up, and I know Alicia in the green room, we talked about butterflies and, that feeling of the uncertainty. And so I would just love you to share, number one, if you've ever experienced imposter syndrome, and all your successes, and, how you get rid of those butterflies.
So I used to have imposter syndrome kind of in my 20s for sure. And then maybe even my 30s. And now I absolutely don't have imposter syndrome, and I don't have imposter syndrome. And it's easy for me to say, Kaya, oh my God, I've heard you sing, and you should absolutely not have imposter syndrome. But imposter syndrome comes, I think, from us comparing ourselves to others, right? And this comes back to what I said earlier to Olivia, is that I don't believe in the fake it till you make it. Know your stuff. So if you are confident, and Alicia, this holds for you too, even in grade 7, if you know your stuff, if you know your curriculum, if you know and are confident in your knowledge, then just own that. Because all of this imposter syndrome we put upon ourselves, right? So I think it's much easier said than done, but I know that I've earned my spot at the table. I've earned it. I know my stuff. I feel totally confident in that. And each of you ladies on the screen, you've earned your spot. So again, easier said than done. I know that, but all you can do is start with gratitude. Know that you've done the work, because each of you have done the work. You've done the work and you've earned your place. You're not an imposter. You're exactly who you're supposed to be, and people recognize and appreciate it.
Beautiful, well said. And just keep on doing exactly what it is. We all bring a special talent or gift to the table. And
We're
just
all
keep
magical.
honing your talents. Keep doing what makes you happy, and be the best that you can be doing what you're doing.
That's all you can do. That's not being an imposter. That's being your true, authentic, amazing self.
So thank you so much for joining, Olivia. I'll let you wrap it up with Sarah, and then we will just close off this amazing session. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, ladies.
Well, thank you for allowing me to interview you, Sarah. I mean, I learned quite a bit, and we have a lot more in common than I thought, because we've only really had a bit of small talk, mainly acquaintance by presence, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
The whole thing about no being just a sentence, it's one of my favorite quotes as well. And to those who don't necessarily understand, I get it, if you know what I mean. But no, thank you for your time, and I'm sure many people will really benefit from this.
Well, good. Well, thanks for hosting.
Yeah, no worries.
That is a wrap. I want to say thank you to Kaya, thank you to Alicia, thank you, Leva, and of course, Sarah, our role model for today. And if you know that there's a role model that's interested or a peer that should be joining, have them join in, because that's what the peer-to-peer jam and role model talks are all about, is an open, honest way for us to learn from our peers and role models. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. And we will see you on the next peer-to-peer jam and role model talk.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.